This is Jarrod Horak, and this is my latest Road to the 2024 Kentucky Derby Contenders video. And in this video, I'm going to go through the latest Kentucky Derby news. We're a little more than 3 weeks out from the Derby now. And if you're interested in reading my Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks reports, head on over to today'sracingdigest.com. On their front page at the top near the left, you're going to see a Kentucky Derby tab. Click on that tab. It'll take you over to the Digest Derby page. And there you will be able to read my weekly Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks reports. Every Monday, I update the Oaks, and every Tuesday, I update the Derby. Now, if you want to go over to my personal website, therunawayhorse.com, you can find my full cards. I'm going to be doing my annual Triple Crown Series full cards. So go over to my website at therunawayhorse.com, click on my shop page, and there you will see my full card schedule coming up from April through June. I'm going to be doing Kentucky Oaks Day at Churchill full card this year on May 3rd, Derby Day on May 4th, Black-Eyed Susan Day, day before the Preakness on May 17th, Preakness Day on May 18th, the 4-day Belmont Stakes Day Festival at Saratoga on June 6th through 9th, and sprinkled in between there, a bunch of full cards at Santa Anita I'm going to be covering, and then later this summer, the Del Mar Summer Meet as well, beginning on July 20th. So go over to the runawayhorse.com on my shop page to see my full card schedule, and I have some of those full cards available now. Santa Anita will be running April 19th through 21st. You can get those. And then I have some of my Triple Crown Series full cards available for purchase, pre-purchase right now. So go over to my shop page for more details. And then if you want a daily free play of the day at therunawayhorse.com, just click on my Better Bets free picks. You'll see that tab right at the top. I'm doing a daily play of the day on my website. So go over there if you want to get a free bonus play of the day each day. And now we'll talk about some of the doings for the Kentucky Derby. Now, the field's mostly set, but we still have the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland on April 13th. I have that video on my channel now, so you can check that out. And there are 3 horses at least that have some decent number of Derby points right now that are trying to win that race and get into the Kentucky Derby. One of those horses is Hades. He has 30 Kentucky Derby points. So a victory in this race, in this Lexington Stakes, would get Hades into the field in the Kentucky Derby. Even if he finishes second, that puts him on the bubble right there. He could still get in doing that as well. And now you have with 20 points Encino for trainer Brad Cox. He's running in the Lexington. A victory there would give him 40 points, put him right on the bubble. Same with Liberal Arts. He has 19 points. A victory would give him 39 points. Right now, 45 points, No More Time is the horse that's right there, the 20th and final horse. Then you have Grand Mo the first with 40 points, and then Common Defense with 37, and then Epic Ride with 35. Those horses are right on the bubble. And then you have those Lexington horses trying to jump ahead of those horses. And there are at least a couple horses that aren't completely confirmed for the Kentucky Derby yet, including Endlessly, your Jeff Ruby Stakes winner. He has 100 Derby points, but for him, they're not sure if they don't want to run him on turf and not run on dirt for the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see what they do. They're training right now at Churchill Downs. They're going to make a decision. They're going to run in the Grade 2 American turf on the Kentucky Derby undercard, or they're going to run in the Kentucky Derby if he trains well on that dirt surface at Churchill. So he did have a workout last week, and he'll have a few more, and they're going to make that decision in the coming weeks. And then you have a Deterministic with 50 points. He can run if they want him to for trainer Christophe Clement, but for him, he did not run well in the Wood Memorial. I think he finished 8th there. So that was a very disappointing effort. He won the Gotham before that. That's the race that got him into the Kentucky Derby. But coming off that poor showing, they're not sure if they're going to run him in the Derby. So towards the bottom of the list, we still have some movement, and I'll keep up to date with all of that in the coming weeks. And now I'll give out my top Derby contenders. Now I updated my 2024 Kentucky Derby Exceptional 11 contenders as part of my weekly Derby blog at today'sracingdigest.com on April 9th. And Sierra Leone, last week's Bluegrass Stakes winner, continues to be my top-ranked Derby contender. He was my top-ranked Derby contender since early February. He stays right there. He was my top choice in the Risen Star and the Bluegrass Stakes, and he won both of those races. So he's won his last 2 starts Looked good in those races at 1.125 miles. It looks like 1.25 miles should be right up his alley. Chad Brown's had success with horses that did well in the Bluegrass, and then a couple of those hit the board in the Kentucky Derby. He had Good Magic and Zandon. Both of those horses were able to finish for Good Magic second in the Derby and Zandon third. So Sierra Leone's going to try to do one better and maybe get the victory in the Kentucky Derby here. Paid a lot of money for this one. Looks like he can run all day. He's a closer, though, and he's going to need some pace help and some racing luck in the Derby. Now, my second ranked Derby contender was my top ranked contender at the end of last year, and that's Fierceness. But for him, he disappointed in the Holy Bull. And after he disappointed in the Holy Bull, I dropped him out of my top spot and I moved Sierra Leone into my top spot, and they remain first and second on my list. So for Fierceness, he bounced back in a big way in the Florida Derby last time, winning by 13 lengths. He's the fastest horse. He owns the best speed ratings, and he's one that if he runs his race in the Kentucky Derby, they're probably all running for second because he can be dominant. In his 3 victories, he was outstanding, including a win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as the Florida Derby as well, and then his maiden victory. Romped in those 3 races, but then in his 2 losses, he didn't have great starts. That was in the Champagne Stakes and the Holy Bull Stakes, and he lost both of those races. And he's one that has yet to run 2 races alike. He won his debut, disappointed in the Champagne. Won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, disappointed in the Holy Bull. Bounced back in the Florida Derby. So he has that zigzag speed rating pattern, and he's going to have to prove that he can run 2 alike. But if he does, and he gets a clean start and he gets up on the pace, he could be dangerous in the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, he's the most likely winner, but everything's going to need to go well. We're going to know very early if Fierceness is going to run a good race. If he has a sharp break and he's right up on that pace, he's probably going to run a quality race. Now, Catching Freedom is my 3rd ranked contender, and he won the Louisiana Derby for trainer Brad Cox from Off the Pace. He seems like he has a lot of stamina. He can just sit back and make a run. And his dam sire, Pioneer of the Nile, was my Kentucky Derby horse when he ran in the Derby, and he ended up finishing second. So Catching Freedom, good pedigree, Constitution's the sire, and I would expect that from Off the Pace, he's probably going to probably run a quality race in the Kentucky Derby if he can get a clean trip. Forever Young, 5 for 5. This is a Japanese star, and he won the UAE Derby last time. He wasn't flashy, but he got the job done. He had a wide trip, and he was able to just grind out that win. Good, solid effort there. And now he's coming in here undefeated. We haven't seen a UAE Derby horse really make an impact in the Kentucky Derby yet. But Forever Young has a lot of ability. I don't think the 1.25 miles is going to give him any difficulty, and he probably will run a decent race. And then rounding out my top 5 at this point is Stronghold for trainer Phil D'Amato. He's going to need to get a lot quicker. He won the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby last time, but I like his consistency. He has good tactical speed. He always runs his race. Antonio Fresu from California, one of the top riders at Santa Anita, gave him a good ride in that Sunland Derby victory and then also in that Santa Anita Derby victory. He's got to get faster, but he's one that works out his own trip, and he could be a solid contender to hit the board in the Kentucky Derby if he can improve again. Now, to read the rest of my list and to see the rest of my blog, you can go over to todaysracingdigest.com to see the rest of my Kentucky Derby contenders and read my stakes recaps, point standings, and much more. Now, a couple other horses I think could end up making an impact in the Derby. Maybe one for exotics purposes. Honor Marie seems to be one that's likes Churchill, won the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes, and then disappointed in the Risen Star. Just got too far back and then bounced back with a good runner-up finish in the Louisiana Derby. So as a late runner in the Kentucky Derby, a horse like Honor Marie could do some damage. And then one other horse to mention that I like that's moving up my list. It's going to and will be in my exceptional 11 most likely next week, and possibly moving up if he continues to work well in his last works for the Kentucky Derby, will be Just a Touch. I've always liked that one. Now, he ran a decent race in that Gotham Stakes. He was my top choice. He finished second. That was just his second career start. And then last time out in that Bluegrass Stakes, he stalked, he led, but Sierra Leone ran him down, and he was clearly second best. Just a Touch, lightly raced, tactical speed for trainer Brad Cox, and he is on the improve. So that's some of the latest Kentucky Derby news. Stay tuned to this channel. I'm going to keep doing these Kentucky Derby video updates for the contenders as we get closer to that 2024 Kentucky Derby. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.